Hello and welcome to Ms. Kai's tutorials for violin. So today we talked a lot about the scales that we are most familiar with the violin: G major, D major, and A major. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how we make up a scale and how we translate that to the violin. So, as you know, on our violin, when we hold our fingers down, we have our tapes. And usually our tapes are made so that our second and third fingers are close together and we have a lot of space between the rest of our fingers. So that space where the fingers are close together, that is called a half step. The places where the fingers are farther apart, those are called whole steps. For every whole step, there are two half steps. So for instance, you see where my fingers are close together here? That's a half step. But if I moved my second finger down and made it into a wide space, that's now a whole step. And now my half step moved down to where my first and second finger is. And I can move that back up and still have that relationship between either a whole step or a half step, okay? So our scales work in a similar way. As we know, a scale is made up of 8 notes that begin and end on the same letter or the same note. So, for instance, our C major scale starts on the note C and ends on the note C. And we go up through the alphabet: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And as you can see here, I've written out my C major scale. And yes, it's backward because of the video, but work with me. So, our C major scale starts at the lowest C, and we go through the scale C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, all the way up to this C here. Last time we talked about how the lines and the spaces each make an area for us to put our notes, and these lines and spaces go up by letter names, and they're always the same. Okay, so C, when we have our treble clef, is always going to start here. Now, for every scale, we have a particular pattern that is based on the C major scale. Naturally, our C major scale is made up of half steps and whole steps. The half steps naturally come between the letters E and F and the letters B and C. On the piano, if you've seen a piano, this scale makes up all of the white keys. And between E and F and B and C, those are the only places on the piano where we don't have a black key in between, because that black key is going to be a half step away from that white key. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, if we put numbers underneath all of these scale names, so if we made this a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, we see that our pattern looks like this. Okay, so between the third and the fourth scale degree, we have a half step, and the seventh and the eighth scale degree, we have a half step. Everything else are whole steps. Okay, so that's the same. Between E, F, and B, C, or 3, 4, and 7, and 8, we have half steps. Now, what happens if we take that scale pattern and try to move it to a different letter name? If we say try to make our scale start on the D and make it into a D major scale, I do have things written on here. If we didn't have anything written here, our half steps would actually be in a different place, right? Because starting on D, let's look at this, this makes it easier. Let's pretend we're starting on D and ending on D. If we start on D, our half step is now between the first and the second note. Okay, pretend the C is not here. Our half step is now between the first and between the second and the third note, instead of between the third and the fourth note. And here, now this is between the sixth and the seventh note, instead of the seventh and the eighth note, which pretend there's a D there. So to fix that, we use things called sharps, which raise our notes by one half step, okay, and flats, which lower our notes by 1/2 step. Okay, so yeah, sharps look like the hashtag that you guys are all used to, and flats look like a fancy leaning B, or like, I don't know, maybe a cursive B or something like that. And yes, remember, this is backward. Okay, so normally your flat is going to look, oh, you can't really see it. Your flat's going to look like it's in the opposite direction. And then we have another marking called a natural, all right? And a natural cancels out a sharp or a flat, or lets you know that we are only using the notes in their natural form, which is C major. So no sharps and no flats, just like a piano. So coming back to our D major scale, this is one of the most popular scales that we play on our violin in the beginning. So we have two places where we have to fix the scale to make it line up with this pattern here of having the half steps between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Okay, so to do that, instead of letting the half step stay between the 2nd and 3rd degree, we add a sharp to the F here, and that raises it up a half step and makes it closer to the G. Okay, so we add a sharp on the F sharp, and we do the same here for the C natural to raise it up to a C sharp and make it closer to the D. Okay, so that's how we do that with our D major scale. And we can do that with any scale that we start with. So for instance, I guess I can do a quick example. Let's see, if we were to pick a different scale, how about we do A major? A major is another popular scale that we do that starts on our A string, okay? So I'm going to quickly write that out for us. If you can, remember the notes for the A major scale, you can say them with me. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Okay, so this is my A major scale. All right, I'll write the letter names underneath. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. I know I can't write backwards yet, but I'm working on it. All right, so without any sharps or flats, when we see our A major scale, remembering that our half steps are between B and C and E and F, okay, naturally, that would put that between scale degrees. Here, I'll write the scale degrees underneath 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so you can see. Without putting anything, any sharps in, right now our half steps are between 2 and 3, okay, because B and C, and between 5 and 6, between E and F. But we need it to be between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. That's where we need it to be. So to raise it up and fix those half steps, we're going to add sharps in, okay? So here we have a whole step between A and B. That's great. Here we have a half step, but we need a whole step. So we're going to make the C into a C sharp, and that's going to make it higher and also create that half step that we need here, okay? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a sharp here next to the C sharp. I guess I can put little lines on it too, because that's kind of fun. I'm going to add a sharp or hashtag next to the C sharp, okay? And we make those sharps before the note here, okay? So we can fix that. Now our half step is between C and D, and I'm going to add that sharp there as well. And when we do it with the letters, the sharp comes after, okay? So C sharp, let's keep going. So half step here. Now we need a whole step between D and E, good. E and F, we whole step there, not a half step. So we're going to raise that F up and make that into a whole step. So we're going to make that F into an F sharp, okay, and that's going to make that into a whole step, and it's actually going to create now a half step. Oops, sorry, let me put that extra sharp on the note. We raise the F sharp, okay, but look what that makes happen between the F sharp and the G. That makes that into a half step, but we want our half step to be between 7 and 8. So to change that, let's go see what we can do to the next note, that G. Can you think about it, what it is? Can you tell me? Yes, that's correct. We're going to add a sharp on the G to make it into a G sharp. Isn't this exciting? I know. So we're going to add that sharp here to the G sharp, which is going to move our half step from the 6th and the 7th degree up to the 7th and 8th degree. Okay, and so then now we've got our A major scale. So we have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. Okay, and if we're thinking of this on the violin, you can see that now it lines up a lot better because we have our open string, our first finger, our second finger, and our third finger, and you can see we have that half step there between the second and the third finger because they're close together. And then we have our open E, we have our F sharp, which is our first finger on our E string, we have our second finger on our E string, which is G sharp, and then we want them to be close together. We've got that half step, and we've got our third finger on our E string. So why don't we play that scale together? So grab your violins. I know we did a lot today talking about scales and sharps, but now I want to put it all together so you can see how these things fit. So for our scale, we're going to pick a fun rhythm, either Mississippi Hot Dog or Everybody Down Up, or anything that helps you find the rhythm of 4 16th notes and 2 8th notes. So Mississippi Hot Dog, everybody down up. I like cake and ice cream. Whatever you need to help you say it in your head and move your bow to that rhythm. Okay, we're going to play an A major scale and repeat the top note. And I want you to just think in your head about how these fingerings are actually corresponding to the notes that we are playing. The A, B, C, D, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Okay, ready? I'll give you a little introduction and then we'll play together. Okay, so first finger, ready, and let's play together, all together. Open, first finger B, second finger C sharp, third finger D, open A or fourth finger, good, first finger F sharp, D sharp, second finger, and third finger A. Repeat that note, G sharp, good, F sharp, fourth finger or open E, D, C sharp, E, short, and A. Beautiful job, everyone. Thanks for staying with me today and learning about our scales and our sharps and our flats and exploring rhythm and learning a little bit more about your violin. So I hope to see you in class sometime soon, and keep on playing on. Bye from Miss